All right, well, it is 5:30, so we will go ahead and get started. Aloha, everyone, and welcome to a special presentation, Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, past, present, and future. We're all excited that you are here. I'm Chase Martin. I'm going to MC tonight's webinar. I'm the Communications, Community Outreach, and Development Manager here at MNMRC. Tonight's presentation is part of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's monthly Know Your Ocean speaker series, usually held on the first Wednesday of each month at 5:30 via Zoom. This series is supported by the County of Maui Office of Climate Change, Resiliency, and Sustainability. So we're very excited here at MNMRC. We are celebrating 15 years of working for clean ocean water, healthy coral reefs, and abundant native fish. This special presentation is in honor of our 15-year anniversary, and we're excited to share our story and projects with you all. Just a few things before we get going. You'll notice that your microphone is on mute. Please keep it on mute during the presentation to avoid distractions. And we invite you to submit questions by using the Q&A button on the lower edge of your screen. We'll have some time at the end of the presentation to answer these questions. We will have 3 speakers for this presentation. First up, 2 board members, Lucienne Dene and Larry Stevens, who will present on the history, and our staff member, Jill Wirt, will dive into our current and upcoming projects. Lucienne lives in rural East Maui and is active with stream and watershed restoration projects. She is a founding member of Maui Cultural Lands, Inc. and the Hawaiian Islands Land Trust. Lucienne has served on the Mayor's Open Space Zoning Advisory Committee, the Maui General Plan Advisory Committee, and serves as Conservation Chair and Hike Leader for the Maui Sierra Club. Larry is a veteran software industry executive who now makes Maui his home. He has helped establish the council's online presence and consults on management and planning. He also cleans up beaches. In addition to serving on MNMRC's board of directors, Larry serves on the board of the Hawaiian Islands Land Trust and is a board member of the Oneloa Coalition. He is also a member of the Planning Committee and Marine Committee of the Kihei Community Association. And Jill is a project manager here at MNMRC, managing our reef-friendly landscaping program. She also assists with field monitoring of our oyster bioremediation project in Ma'alaya Bay and reef transects in North Kihei. She coordinates our National Fish and Wildlife Foundation Coastal Resilience Grant, which investigates and prioritizes projects to mitigate flooding in Kihei and boost coastal resilience. And as part of MNMRC's ongoing support of the Maui Nui Makai Network, a network of community and partner groups that care for ecosystems on which Hawaii's people depend, Jill provides assistance with their social media and outreach. So to get us started, I will hand it over to Lucienne and Larry to take it from here.
Mahalo, Chase, and hi, everybody. I was there at the beginning, and it's been 15 amazing years. Just want to give honor to the 3 people who founded this organization. Robert Whitner, local business person, Kumu Edwin Nalelehua Lindsay Jr., and Dr. Robin Newbold. Now, Robin continues to manage the organization. Uncle Ed Lindsay did pass on, sadly, in 2009, and Mr. Whitner also left the organization. But the organization was actually based on the structure of a similar council over on the Big Island, on the Kona side. And the idea was to bring 28 community stakeholders representing different parts of ocean health together. And it has grown into the organization it is today, starting as this council concept and expanding into a nonprofit. Larry's going to tell you a little bit about some of our early projects.
Thank you, Lucienne. It has been a true honor to work with the incredible people of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, very much including Lucienne, who's involved in so many important things for our island. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of our very first projects, which was to create the Maui Coral Reef Recovery Plan. This began very early in our history and spanned the years from 2010 to 2017. we have a kind of a part of our DNA is as a convener, as Lucienne was saying. So we convened a group of people from various walks of life to join our recovery team to develop this plan, including scientists, environmental groups, cultural practitioners who brought their local knowledge and traditions into the discussion. And we met, and we met, and we met, and we met until we had a series of understandings and recommendations that we could all come together on and say, yes, let's move forward with this. So the project ended up with the name Ola Papa Imalama Ia, and it's really one of the first, or maybe the first, geographically based recovery plans prepared for coral reefs in the world. And as we all know and love our coral reefs here on Maui, and we all know that the trouble that they've been facing. I'll draw your attention to the coral head in the lower left, which is, I think, somewhere over 400 years old, or it was, because it died in 2015, showing again the importance of doing the work that we've done. And in the years since we published this plan, we've continued to draw on its insights to help us set our priorities and look for funding and look for other resources to begin this difficult program of unpicking the damage that we've done and coming to a place where we can heal from that. So let me turn it back to Lucienne, and she can tell us about our community managed marine area programs.
Well, this is a very exciting program. It's a partnership. The Nature Conservancy got a federal grant back in 2009. And the idea was to take a couple of years, reach out to any groups that were interested here in Maui Nui, and set up a training program to allow people to just manage their own fisheries and ocean marine spaces. And it's worked very well. Our participation started in 2011 at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. And we had a train the trainers type of event where we actually were able to get funding to send some folks to Palau, where they learned about this same program that's been going on there for a number of years. So the little map here shows that we have community managed marine areas in various parts of Maui and Molokai, and even in Lanai. So it's a great program, and I believe our first unit out in Kipahulu is actually going to get certified with the state. They're in the process of doing that. So it's people taking care of their own ocean, part of our mission. Larry's going to tell you a little bit more about what happened next in our organizational structure.
So we began as a very informal group with no money. We weren't incorporated. We were just people concerned about our ocean, trying to gather together. But in 2015, we finally said, look, we need to move from just talking into action. And in order to do that, we need to become a federally recognized nonprofit. So under the incredible commitment of Mike Fogarty, who had began working with our group a couple of years earlier, we went through this incredible process, and we managed to get it through and write the bylaws and get the board of directors set up and get all the other bits and pieces together so that we could become a serious player in actually working in our environment and making changes in our environment. And that was something that none of us were familiar with at the time. And Mike really took the lead and brought the whole project home. It was a fantastic achievement. Okay, so I'll give it back to Lucienne for talking about some of the science work we've done.
Very true. Actually, being incorporated did give us a broader reach in reaching out for more grants. We'd been successful in obtaining grants from the very beginning, like with the Coral Reef Task Force, but we had to go through fiscal sponsors. Once we were on our own, thanks to our wonderful staff, Amy Hodges and others, we have been able to have funding for some terrific reports that really made a difference. One was about options to improve wastewater management in South Maui. This is a really important issue because wastewater ends up in the ocean after it's treated. And our study worked on presenting some solutions, and actually one of the largest solutions is being funded as we speak to create a new regional treatment plant for Ma'alaya. And our studies of the health of the ocean quality in Kihei are still ongoing, and we have new grants and new programs to try to address the runoff and the pollution from unsewered areas in South Maui. So these are an important part of our mission, is getting good information out to policymakers. And Larry's going to tell you a little bit about what comes next, our water quality testing.
Yeah, so this began with a terrible problem that we learned of in West Maui at Honokahua, where we were getting huge amounts of brown water almost every day running down the mountain from a residential development that was underway. We heard about this first from Tamara Paulton, who later has become one of our county council members, and she and Dana Reed engaged with Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, and we started working together on how we can make some progress on this. We visited the site. We talked to the developers who were working there. We talked to our county government, and eventually got the county to shut down the project until they made improvements in how they were managing their runoff, which they were doing very inadequately at that time. That's why we got the brown water. That led to a realization that we needed an ongoing project to watch our water quality. And we learned that the state was doing some of it, but their program was so underfunded and under-resourced that they really couldn't do what needed to be done. So we gathered a group of volunteers. We worked very closely with the Nature Conservancy and with West Maui Ridge to Reef, and we developed a document, a quality management document, which allowed us to gain the permission of the state to submit our data to them to make it part of their database. We were very proud of that, and we began testing water quality at, I believe, as many as 41 sites up and down the leeward side of Maui, from Honolulu down to McKenna. And we've continued this program now for, it's in its 5th year, and we're continuing to do this program, so we have an ongoing data set now of exactly what's happening with our water quality across this part of Maui. And we continue to work with the state, we continue to work with our partners, and we're very proud of the fact that we can do science and also do things that will help our environment. Let me turn it back to Lucienne now, and she can talk about what we've done in Ma'alaya.
Thanks, Larry. This is really one of our biggest and most ambitious projects. Anyone who looks at this slide can see the problem. When it rains, we have mud coming down from the hillsides above Ma'alaya. And you can just throw up your hands and go, well, that's just nature. Or you can figure out how to do something about it. And we tried to figure out how to do something about it. And that was our report that we issued in 2018. We got Mike Reyes and Wesley Krause, 2 professionals that work in ecological design, and they produced a roadmap on solutions. And then lo and behold, a year later, we got some funding to start implementing those solutions. And we've worked towards implementing some of them, and there's lots more to be done. And there is a plan to actually have the state and the county purchase the land. The county would purchase the land, the state would manage it, and Maui Nui would be an important partner in seeing this degradation that's been going on for years start to shift back to restoration rather than degradation. So very important project. And Larry's going to tell us a little bit about what's happening next.
So when COVID hit, we all kind of went into shock. We all kind of reeled, except that Ikolu Lindsay and Mike Fogarty came to our rescue. They learned of the Maui Cares program and wrote the grants and did the organizing, which allowed us to hire 73 people over the course of just a few weeks to work on various projects around Maui to help with our environmental restoration work. We worked with the Land Trust, we worked with other groups, we worked with Maui Coastal Lands, and not only did we get some good work done during the relatively short-term CARES project, but we were able to identify people that we were able to hire long-term. And we've turned them into, from just guys on the street, really good guys. We found them, we trained them, and we've turned them into incredibly capable and highly contributive environmental workers who have joined our different organizations. So we almost killed Ikolu and Mike to get this done because it all had to happen basically overnight. But we had all kinds of great outcomes come from this. We're very, very proud of this work that they've done for us. So that kind of brings us up to date. And now it's time for us to hand the ball over to Jill Wirt so she can talk about some of the things that we're doing now. Over to you, Jill.
Thank you, Larry and Lucienne. It's so great to have supportive board members like both of you who have been doing this work a lot longer than I have. So thanks for sharing and being here and taking the time to do this. I am going to tell everyone about our current work and our current projects that we have going on. So I'll get set up here with my screens. And here we are. So thank you again. Aloha, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight to learn more about Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's efforts and current projects. I'm going to take us through some of our accomplishments this year and other things that we are looking forward to. So first, we have our oyster bioremediation project. The Ma'alaya Harbor Oyster Project is where we have caged oysters in the harbor to help filter and clean the water column of pollutants, chemicals, and sediment. We saw a lot of growth in the oysters during the summer months, which is the same trend that we saw the previous year. You can see the new shell growth frilling in the left picture on this side. We would always get very excited when we saw the frills on the oysters because it shows that they're growing, filtering water. The species of oyster that we use is the Pacific oyster, and they have exceptional water filtering capabilities, up to 50 gallons per day for a single adult oyster. We added 3,000 juvenile Pacific oysters in 2022. They're quite small when they arrive, as you can see here, so much smaller than our adults as they grow. All of our oysters come from UH Hilo's Pacific Aquaculture and Coastal Resource Center, where they're specifically bred as triploids, meaning they have a third set of chromosomes that helps to prohibit them from reproducing. So instead, they focus their energy on growing really big and filtering lots of water. This also help make them safe for us to use in our waters, as they don't pose any threats to native species. Our MNMRC staff will continue to monitor these oysters every 2 weeks and work with the state of Hawaii for permits and harbor permissions. We deployed 3 Aqualink buoys in the ocean, one in Kihei near Cove Park, one in Ma'alaya Bay, as well as Olowalu. You can see a picture of it here. This is just a piece of the Aqualink buoys. There's another cable that actually runs below the surface, and there's different, I guess, telemetric measurement data collectors beneath the surface of the water, and it's anchored in the sand. So they record wind and wave data at the surface, as well as ocean temperatures just below the surface, and then at the same depth as most of our corals, so a bit lower, around like 10 meters. We can watch this real-time data and know if there is a threat of a bleaching event. Best of all, this live data is available to the public at any time at aqualink.org. So we encourage all of our water use partners to take advantage of all of the condition reports. MNMRC worked with Kaonaulu Ranch to have 1,800 linear feet, about a third of a mile of 8-foot tall ungulate fencing installed running Mauka to Makai. This is in addition to extensive fencing efforts that the ranch and other partners are working together to install. There's an invasive axis deer issue. They're eating a lot of the vegetation, exposing soil, which contributes to sediment runoff and ends up on our nearshore coral reefs during storm events. So this area is very important because it's adjacent to gulches that contribute the sediment and excess nutrients to the ocean when it rains. The fencing is paired with very active harvest of the axis deer from within the perimeters. The fencing helps control the herd movements to preferred areas and make harvesting easier. This combined effort will reduce erosion and allow grasses to regrow. An added bonus is that fire breaks can be made at the same time as the fencing is installed, as you can see in the picture here. Moving on to sunscreen. This is a huge effort for us. We helped support Ordinance number 5306, which banned the sale, distribution, and use of non-mineral sunscreens without a prescription. This ban went into effect on October 1st of this year. So thank you to everyone who helped us testify for this important legislation. We're working with Dr. Craig Downs to determine the effectiveness of this ban. We took water samples from 5 Maui beaches in September before the ban went into effect, and we'll do the same thing in 2023 to compare sunscreen chemical levels pre and post ban. If we see a decrease in the banned chemicals, it'll indicate that this type of legislation is effective, and if not, MNMRC and its partners will know that more stakeholder engagement is needed to decrease contamination levels and protect our coral reef ecosystems. We also have Hui Oka Vaiola, as most of you know about by now. It's our community-based water quality monitoring program, launched and conducted by MNMRC, the Nature Conservancy, and West Maui Ridge to Reefs Initiative in partnership with the State of Hawaii Department of Health Clean Water Branch. In 2022, we had 24 volunteers test ocean water quality every 3 weeks at 29 different locations across South and West Maui, which equated to 493 water samples this year. It's a huge effort. Volunteers go out, get up to their knees in the ocean water and test for temperature, salinity, dissolved oxygen, pH, turbidity, and nutrients. Now on to reef-friendly landscaping, which I am biased. I feel very attached to this program because I have taken a lot of time in managing it, and it has sort of developed into 3 branches that you see here: test plots, certifications, and collaboration and outreach. The program has seen a lot of growth this year and was conceived and developed by a very generous donor due to concerns about human exposure to harmful chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. As we know, synthetic pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers have a number of negative impacts on our coral reefs, such as coral bleaching, birth and developmental effects in aquatic organisms, tumor growth, as well as reduced photosynthesis in the symbiotic phytoplankton that lives inside coral polyps. So this was when MNMRC decided to develop a program that could encourage, assist, and recognize properties who are dedicated to reef conservation by switching their landscaping practices from conventional to reef-friendly, more organic, and holistic. This concept of holistic land management is not a new idea. There have been people doing this for a very long time, and we are simply bridging this gap to show that there are locally made products that exist that you can use in place of the really harmful chemical stuff. So we started working with Environmental Solutions Maui. They are based in Haiku, and they create a biological soil amendment called Soil Thrive. It's derived from compost. So they take their really nutrient and microbe-rich compost, put it into a big aerator with liquid, and they feed all of the microbes, so the microbes multiply, and then you apply or spray the liquid onto the turf, for example, within 24 hours of it brewing. Then the microbes work their way into the soil and essentially rebuild the microbiology that's needed to support plant health and soil health. Think of it as like your gut biome. If you don't have a healthy gut, it can cause a lot of health issues. It's the same thing with the soil. If you don't have healthy soil, you're not going to have healthy plants. So throughout the year, we've worked with the County of Maui at one of their ball fields in Keopuolani Park, which is as well as an area of turf, part of Wailea Community Association. and a few tee boxes at McKenna Golf and Beach Club on their south course, which probably has the nicest view. It's always very beautiful down there. So we go out, we started back in April. We did about 4 to 5 applications, 1 per month. So it took about 4 to 5 months to get that initial microbiology established. Environmental Solutions Maui was taking soil samples throughout the process as well. And some of those results between control sites, so in neighboring turf areas that haven't been treated with the soil amendment compared to the test plots that have been treated. And we are seeing an increase in that microbiology. Typically, when you're applying a lot of chemicals like pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers, you're stripping the soil of all of that really great microbiology. All that microbiology, it can be bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes. They all work together to create soil structure, to retain water, and make nutrients available to the plants. So in our control sites, you see there's a very high level of bacteria. That isn't necessarily a good thing because there's a very low level of fungi. And this is in number of bacteria and fungi per microgram. We're looking for a ratio of 50-50, so 50% fungi, 50% bacteria. What we're seeing in the control is very low, pretty much non-existent, and no beneficial protozoa. But in our test plots, this was a soil sample result from September. We have a lot more fungi established, a lot more protozoa, and the ratio is about 30-70, so 30 fungi to 70 bacteria. So we're not quite there yet. We just did our last application yesterday, which is exciting, and we'll be collecting a couple more soil samples before the end of the year, have all of the final results in January. These photos are showing how we take those soil samples. So you take a core. This is a great one because it shows how deep the roots are going. This is from one of our test plot sites. And then comparing the depth of topsoil with our test plot site compared to the control site. Under the microscope here, you see a lot of, there's a fungi here, as well as potentially some nematodes, protozoa from the healthy soil, beneficial nematode here. So it's really exciting things. Who knew soil could be so interesting, really? And by doing these test plots, we're taking this data, showing that this product works, and then encouraging properties to get certified as a reef-friendly landscaping property. So we have 2 different levels right now, our silver and gold. The silver being the most attainable, and that starts by halting all use of landscaping chemicals that are known to have negative effects on coral reef ecosystems. The gold level requires absolutely no use of synthetic pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, or fertilizers, unless in emergencies, which then have to be documented and reported after all organic options have been exhausted. The gold level also requires landscaping managers to take an organic land care course through the Northeast Organic Farming Association. And both levels require properties to submit a list of chemicals that are, or a list of products currently being used on the property. And if they can't provide that list, then they must agree to quarterly soil samples, which are at the cost of the property. So again, when you take soil samples, if there's a low number of bacteria or high level bacteria, low level fungi, usually indicates that fertilizers and chemicals are being used. But when you have that balanced ratio, it's a pretty good indication that they're using organic and reef-friendly practices. Our first property to pursue the certification, the gold level, is the Four Seasons on Lanai. We have the manager who's taken the organic land care course, and they've documented the products that they were using and have now since properly disposed of with an outside company who came and picked up all the products and got them off of the property, which is great. And we'll be hopefully presenting and awarding that certification before the end of the year. So that'll be our first reef-friendly landscaping certified property. If you would like to have your property consulted and evaluated for reef-friendly landscaping, for certification, you can email me, jill@mauireefs.org, because this is an ongoing project and an ongoing effort. There's no cost to the property for the consultation, and it's completely confidential. We just are doing this for our environment and for the reefs, and we're happy to help facilitate that change. So the final branch of reef-friendly landscaping is our collaboration and outreach. At the beginning of summer, we convened a reef-friendly landscaping working group, which included experts from West Maui Ridge to Reef Initiative, Beyond Pesticides, Edaphic Perspective, Maui Visitors and Convention Bureau, Environmental Solutions Maui, Hawaii Tourism Authority, because we're all working towards the same thing. So we thought, why not come together and put our brains together on how we can expand this effort. What has come of that is another pilot program within the visitors industry that Hawaii Tourism is funding through the Maui Visitors and Convention Bureau. And that is underway. We have the Hyatt Regency participating, the Palms at Wailea, as well as the Ondas. And then we're getting ready to also onboard the Maui Ocean Center. So we'll take an area that will be the designated test plot area where we won't allow any other inputs other than water to go onto the area, apply the Soil Thrive biological soil amendment, and it'll go for a year. And again, soil testing, same thing, documenting, getting the data, making this product more available for properties, and hopefully those properties will also sign on to be certified as a reef-friendly landscaping property. This program was also highlighted on Hawaii News Now with the Talk Story Now with McKenna Maduli, and the reef-friendly landscaping program was featured in the most recent issue of Maui Times in an article called Caring for the Land by John Starmer. So again, if you are interested in participating in the reef-friendly landscaping program, we're happy to have you. You can email info@mauireefs.org or jill@mauireefs.org. It keeps expanding, and it wouldn't be possible without everyone's support and generous donations to keep the movement going. Moving on to our Coastal Resilience Grant with the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. We are working in the areas of Kulani Hakoi, Waipuilani and Laie and Keokea wetlands. This grant is to come up with projects to mitigate the impacts and reduce coastal flooding in Kihei. We're working with Maui Environmental Consulting as well as Eco Solutions. This is a pipeline grant, so we have preliminary projects right now that are in the final stages of design, budgeting, permitting, that we will then apply for the second round of funding in the spring. Some of these projects are focusing on wetland restoration, flood mitigation, and invasive species removal. So it's a big effort across a large area. Again, it goes from Mauka to Makai. It starts with the fencing, it starts with proper land management, Mauka. It also goes with infrastructure, it goes with wetland restoration. It's a huge effort, a lot of collaboration with stakeholders. So that is in the works and looking promising so far. Moving into our outreach and development, we have visitor education ads with support from the County of Maui. We've been campaigning to visitors in order to educate them about marine life and conservation here on Maui. This all starts when visitors first arrive here with ads at the Kahului Airport. These ads are 4 short videos that engage viewers and encourage them to respect the ocean here. They're played on the screens above the baggage claim carousels, and you can see screenshots of the ads on the right here. 2 of the ads encourage people to not hit or stand on reefs. One is about mineral-only sunscreen, and the 4th educates viewers about properly maintaining distance when encountering sea turtles. These ads play 240 times each day, with impressions being anywhere from 3 to 5 per passenger, depending on how long it takes them to get their luggage. Impressions are the number of times something is displayed on the screen. On Spectrum, these ads are played between 25,000 and 30,000 times. They're promoted on our social media accounts, Facebook and Instagram, and TV, as I mentioned. So there's a lot of numbers going into this, but we're reaching a lot of people with these ads and getting a lot of great feedback from those who view them, especially visitors to the island. We've seen comments from viewers who are surprised to learn that corals are living animals and that sea turtles are actually federally protected. We have some exciting news moving forward on the communications front. We'll be starting a new blog series that profiles some of our donors. These stories will share what inspires them to support us, a little bit about themselves, and what our work means to them. If you're interested in being a featured donor, you can email Chase at mauireefs.org. He will also be launching a podcast in January. He just took a course over on Oahu, and we got a short little intro snippet of it. It sounds great. The podcast will explore marine management and conservation throughout the Hawaiian Islands. It will feature staff and board members, partners of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, as well as others working in the marine conservation space. Consider it an audio version of our speaker series webinars. So stay on the lookout for the podcast in January. If you haven't already, you can learn about all of our updates and accomplishments by signing up for our e-newsletter, Reef in Brief, at mauireefs.org. You can follow us on social media. On Instagram, we're Maui Reefs. You can also search Maui Nui Marine Resource Council on Facebook. And if you want to get involved with any of our water quality testing or volunteer opportunities, you can email info@mauireefs.org. Thank you all again. Mahalo for all of your support, for taking the time to be here tonight. We will wrap up pretty soon, but for those of you who are here, we'll do a little Q&A session. We'll have Chase come back on and we can answer any questions you all might have. Mahalo.
Sorry, my camera was just being a little slow. Awesome.
Great.
Well, thank you, Lucienne, Larry, and Jill for this dive into MNMRC. I actually learned a lot about our history, so that was very, very useful. So yeah, now we have time for Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can type them into the Q&A feature located on the bottom of your Zoom screen. And then we'll see if we're also getting any from our Facebook Live event. Not seeing any yet, but yeah, if you do have a question, you can just pop it in the Q&A feature.
It's the end of the year. Everyone's sleepy, getting
Yeah.
dark later.
Yeah, it's that lull between Thanksgiving and the holidays. All right, well, if no one has any questions, we can wrap this up early, actually. Oh, I see a Q&A. I see it. Oh, awesome question. Are there opportunities for visitors to volunteer when they are on the island? Jill, you might know more about specific volunteers for MNMRC. I do know that Go Hawaii has a really great website about voluntourism. So visitors, when they come, they can work with various nonprofits and other organizations for a day or two to give back to the islands. In terms of MNMRC, most of our volunteers are based on the island, and they help out with Hui Okavaiola and our water quality testing. But do check out Go Hawaii. It is a great resource, and there are a lot of organizations on there that are always looking for people to help.
Yeah, Kipuka Olowalu is another good one. They're always out taking volunteers. You can sign up online. Surfrider has been doing monthly beach cleanups, and there's the Kaehu beach cleanup on the fourth Sunday of every month with Sharkastics. So Cheryl King. But our big volunteer opportunities with the Hui, and that requires training and a little test for quality assurance. So we're working, I think we're going to work on developing more of a like visitor volunteer program, maybe something that's been in the back of our minds.
Yeah, definitely. That would be really cool because we do actually get a couple of requests from people every month asking if there are volunteer opportunities for visitors. And then I saw something else in the Q&A, but it turns out we answered that person's question. So glad we were able to do that in the presentation. And that's all the comments and questions that we had. So we can just pop in those end slides and start wrapping it up. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Lucy and Larry and Jill, for that presentation, for taking us through our history, what we're working on now, and what we're going to be doing going forward. I will say we are in the giving season. This is a great time to support Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's work for clean ocean water, healthy coral reefs, and abundant native fish. Thanks to a generous longtime supporter, friend, and volunteer, your donation will have double the impact with a matching fund. And then we also have a selection of thank you gifts for our donors. These include the Aloha Collection Hit Packs. You can see an example down at the bottom. We have reusable Hui Zero food tins that are always kind of really popular with our donors. And this year we're actually including a limited edition art print. So the octopus on the bottom right, it was painted by yours truly. And we are making some really high quality watercolor prints of this painting and offering it to donations of 250 or more. There are many more gifts to choose from. You can explore them at mauireefs.org/donate. Tell your friends, tell your family. If people are looking to give back this season, this is a great opportunity. And if you've missed some or all of tonight's presentation, you'll be able to view it on Facebook Live or on our YouTube page at Maui Reefs. And last but not least, we want to thank our sponsors and supporters for making our work possible. And we also wish to thank individual donors like you. Mahalo for making a difference. We really appreciate it. And thank you again to everyone for joining tonight. And I hope that everyone has a great holiday season.